Hello, people of the internet. I'm Nick from Our City Magic, and today I am here with Yu-Gi-Oh! Tips and Tricks, episode number 3. Now, I promised that I would do this episode with Jelly, but he is not here due to family matters. He should be here for episode 4. So if you want to wait till then, just don't watch this video, and if you want to listen to me rant for 8 minutes about luck versus skill in Yu-Gi-Oh!, here you go. So, in today's episode of Tips and Tricks, we're going to do luck versus skill in Yu-Gi-Oh!, how to balance them out, and how to use both to your advantage. Now, as the majority of you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a luck-based game and a skill-based game. I did not want to yawn there, I'm sorry about that. But there is a factor of luck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Your opponent could have the best board ever, 4 back row, a bunch of monsters on the field. You can rip Raigeki off the top and nuke their board. They've got no relevant back row, like all their back rows like MSTs, and you have nothing. And you can just top deck Soul Charge from there, and you just win. So there is a factor of luck in this game, which is why a lot of people don't like that, because like you could play a skillless deck and just win off of always luck. Like, for example, Lightsworns is the best reincarnation of this. Have you seen that deck play? Like, all they revolve around is putting themselves in the graveyard to summon Judgment Dragon, which is an inherent special summon that Vanity's Emptiness cannot stop if it's not already face up on the field. Or you can chain a back C2 to draw a card. Ruling of the day. But that deck just, you don't have to do anything. You just have to know how to do the basic combo with a deck. Lumina into Raiden, Michael, shuffle everything back, 2 JDs, attack for game. Like, that's not skill. Now, let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum of skill with a deck like Ritual Beast. I know they got hit on the ban list. We're just using them as an example. You cannot mess up a play in that deck. If you go and let's just say you go for your Kanahawk, you go for the effect, it resolves, you put your 2 things in the grave, you search, and you already have Steeds, so you want to go get Ambush, so you can defuse, go Chainlink 1 Steeds, Chainlink 2, defuse, Chainlink 3, Ambush, so you have 4 monsters on the board to nuke their board, and you don't search out the ambush, you get the Steeds. That could cost you, because you need to nuke their board. Now sure, a second Steeds could be the same as nuking more cards, but they could just know you have it, they'll just flip something like Lance, which they can't do to your ambush, because ambush just puts them on the board before Steeds can resolve. There is no time to respond there in between those 2 things resolving. But you need to know how to play the deck and what combos are in it. Now sure, there's always the luck base of Rip E-Telly, summon a Wen from the deck, attack for 15, main phase 2, activate, ambush to target Kanahawk and Elder, bring them out, make a thing, have the Elder stick around for a Steed. Like, you need to get, like, sometimes you can just get lucky, rip your E-Telly and just win the game at that point. But for the majority of the time, you need to know how to play the deck. So now I'm going to talk about how to balance them out. That's interesting. Because no, it's not because of the yawn. It's because if Yu-Gi-Oh! Were 100% skill-based, no one would play the game. Like, that's the fun part about playing this game, is that you always have cards in your deck that can save you from any situation that you're in. You can just rip the Dark Hole, nuke their board, attack. Or it's like you can rip the Soul Charge, get 5 monsters that have a board presence, and all it costs you were 5,000 of your life points. Like, that means nothing. But if it was just 100% skill-based, where every deck was involved around intricate plays and delicate combos that need to be stopped at one specific moment, and that involves specific cards to go off, no one would play this game. Because it'd be the same shit every time, and everyone gets bored of degenerate combos. And a lot of players would have to smarten up real fast. Like, I know a lot of people who play this game who are not very intelligent. And if you make them play a very combo-intensive deck and they have no idea what they're doing, they will lose. And they would just quit the game if everything was so skill-intensive, because they wouldn't want to play combo decks. They would want to play a helmet deck, and that simply wouldn't exist, so they wouldn't play the game. But I'm getting off topic. We should go back to the point of this video. You can't really balance them out, but what you can do is you can build a deck like Synchron, or like Yosenju, or Satellanites, where there is a bit of skill involved, to where you have to know, okay, when am I activating this trap? When am I using Suchik as a hand trap? When am I going to use this Honest? When am I going to activate Fiendish Chain? There's a lot of intricate interactions you have to play, but the core of the deck is simple. So you can play a deck like that, where you don't have to make decisions based on your monsters, but on your back row. But if we go into the opposite direction for a minute here, decks like Clownblade or decks like Ritual Beast, who don't play that much back row, their back row is much more important to them because they don't have as many traps in their deck, so they can't keep recycling the resources like Satellanites and Yosenju, because they've got counter traps they can search, they have monster, they have consistency. But with these other decks like Ritual Beast and Yang Zing, they don't really have consistency, so their back row becomes much more important to them. So that's just taking both sides of the spectrum into perspective here. But the real question is to ask ourselves, how can you use skill to your advantage? And the simple answer is this: play a skill-intensive deck. Now, in this new format, I don't know what the skill-intensive decks are going to be. They're probably going to be decks like Cosmo and Tellarknight and Infernoid, because they're going to be the underdogs to Monarchs and to Pendulums and to Magic Specters and Kaiju, because they're going to be the new dominant decks, because Konami is making them so goddamn good, you're going to have to play them. And it's also the fact that the decks are so cheap to pick up. Pendulum is getting a structure deck, Monarchs are getting a structure deck. You can buy 3 Monarch structure decks and like have some spare cards yourself, and you can have an entire Monarch deck for like $40. And then your side deck, like, you don't even need an extra, so don't even bother with that. And then your side is just like Veilers and Flying Seas and Kaisers and some traps. You know, your 3 MST to play around Master Restrict. Like, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be as budget as it's ever been. And you want to know what that means? It's going to get a lot more skill intensive, because everyone's going to have the same deck, everyone's going to have to play around the same meta, and everyone is going to have to know how to play the mirror match and their cards better than their opponent, because that's how you win the mirror match. You can just play your cards better than your opponent, and you know how to stop their power plays because you can do the same power plays yourself. And you also have to know how to counter your opponent's counter to your play, which is why using skill is, to me, as a player and as an intelligent individual that I am, skill is more important than luck to me, because it means that I can make the correct play instead of relying on drawing that one card that I need to finish the combo, to get the 5 pieces of Exodia. I'd much rather play a deck that reflects my skill as an individual player than play a deck that just revolves around draw. Now, sure, I like playing those decks on occasion, like the Chicken Race when it first came out. I love playing that deck, because, you know, it was fun drawing cards, but then everyone's like, And everyone's just like, well, I don't want to play against you. This is a waste of my time, and they would just quit. So there's no point even playing. But now, because of this new format, it's going to be a very skill-intensive format. And before I wrap up this video, what I want to say is this. You guys that are playing Helmet decks right now, you might want to change up your strategy, because those aren't going to really be effective. Like, at some point, you're going to have to accept the fact that there's going to be the mirror match. And you're going to have to accept the fact that those decks are going to run around. Now, sure, it's 3 months before you get Bosch. Dimension of Chaos is right around the corner. Magic Specters and Monarchs are on the way. Get your side decks ready. You know, get ready to play a skill-intensive format instead of a luck-intensive format. Like, the past 3 and 4 formats, to me, have been luck-intensive, because Burning Abyss and Necros and whatnot, sure, they take skill to play, but the core of their plays are simple. Like for Necros, you can just summon a Manju, summon your Colossal, or get your Brios, do your plays. Back in Jinlock format, that was a skill-intensive format, because you had to know how to play around Jin and how to play around stuff like Anti-Spell Fragrance and Royal Decree. But I digress. So basically what I'm trying to say is this. Luck versus skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's both at the same time. You can't really make them balance out. You really can't make them counteract one another. So you have to accept the fact that some formats are luck-based, some of them are skill-based. I have no idea why I'm looking in the corner. I'm so sorry. It's just I have my light on, and it's really bright, and it makes me drawn to it. But what I'm trying... or for the millionth time, I need to stop saying this. My point is luck and skill exist. They're both at the same time. Get over it. Deal with it. You can't play them against each other. You can't get them to counteract each other. So, right now, in my opinion, I would say play a skill-intensive deck, because that's what the format's going to be, and you can start understanding how the mirror match is going to work, how you're going to play your cards better than your opponent, and how you're going to come out victorious. So, I guess this is more of like the high advanced players this episode, just so that they understand how this is going to work. But for you new players too, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be cheap. It's also going to be very skill intensive. So play a lot. But anyway, I'm Nick from Mostly Magic. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave down in the comment section below what you want to be the next episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Tips and Tricks. I'll make it, Jelly will make it, someone will make it, it'll be posted on our channel. Link in the description below. Anyway, peace the fuck out.